Hey everybody, what's happening? It is Monday the 17th, and we are in August. So school has started. Teachers are back at it in the classroom, getting going. And man, what a job, right? To be a teacher. Boy, that would be, I would say, challenging in a lot of ways, fulfilling in a lot of ways, I bet, too. But anyway, welcome back, all those kids. I live right by an elementary school, so it's always nice to hear the kids kind of out there doing their thing, kind of doing the recess stuff, and I find it super cool. Anyway, glad you're with me. This is the Morning Devo with Beau. Beaulette's my name, and it is a very French-Canadian name. Not many French-Canadians in this part of the world, but there is a lot of them kind of spread out. A lot more on the northern parts of the globe. North America, more up in, of course, the mid-eastern Canada, I would say. Go to Quebec, or places like Montreal, and you'll find a lot of French Canadians. But anyway, we're going to be in Leviticus today. We start a new book. We're going to go through 1 through 3, and I love this book. It is fascinating, and it really is the big kind of what do we do if we're going to kind of dwell with God? If we're really going to hang with God, what needs to happen? And that's kind of what this book is about. It's kind of answering the why. Why, why do we have to bring an offering before the Lord? And we're going to see kind of themes kind of repeat in this book over and over and over. Bringing offerings, we're going to see this idea of holiness that's continuing on from the book of Exodus, that there is this separation between the deity and human beings. And in order to draw near, there needs to be, in a sense, a judgment that takes place, because if there isn't this substitutionary sacrifice, then it's going to be you that's going to be judged by the living God. And so hence, that's why there's these sacrifices that take place. It is, if you will, it's a way to provide atonement or a covering for your issues. It's like, you wear clothes, you're covering yourself. Covering yourself from what? The vulnerability that you would be in if you did not have any clothes on. And so there's a provision that is made in this book. You see it very specifically laid out. So I find that cool, and it makes sense to me that that God would be holy and righteous and just as a being, and that there is a problem with a planet makes sense too, meaning a problem with human beings makes sense as well, because when I look at the world, I just see a lot of problems, and there's a lot of separation, obviously, between us and God. We don't act like God. We don't do very godly things on the planet. It seems like we have a potential for it, but we always make mistakes. And so, not just mistakes, but it seems like we can't seem to get things correct. Anyway, this all seems to be answered to me in the book of Leviticus. You might want to read another book kind of maybe midstream through this book, and that is the New Testament book of Hebrews. So if you read the book of Hebrews as we're going through the book of Leviticus, you might even see some really cool fulfillments of this book. But let's get into it. On the Morning Devo, I love to read because most people do not read the Bible. And yet they talk about the Bible, and they talk about Christianity, or they talk about Judaism, but they've never actually read the Bible. And so, unfortunately, we tend to, most of the time, not know what we're talking about as human beings very well. We tend to talk about things that we've never even read. And I certainly was one of those human beings, and in a sense still am, one of those human beings, that sometimes I find myself talking about something I've never even read before. And how many Instagram reels are there about Christianity? And none of them really read the Bible. So, of course, I didn't grow up with the Bible. It wasn't around me. It wasn't until later in my teenage years that I picked it up and read it. I was quite blown away how relevant it is. So the Lord called to Moses from the tabernacle and said to him, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel." So this is part of those instructions that were given to build the tabernacle. There was also instructions on this particular book as well. When you present an animal as an offering to the Lord, may you take it from the herd of your cattle or your flock of sheep and goats. Okay, so this is the idea of offering. Offering in Hebrew means to draw near, to bring near. So the idea is needing to be brought near to God. Something that we obviously struggle with, being brought near, drawing near, not drawing away, but drawing near. That ever since the fall, there's been a drawing away from God. Now, this makes sense in my world because my world is filled with all different beliefs and different religions, and people might ask, well, why is there so many then religions? Well, this answers it. It's because we've all drawn away. We've made up stuff. That's what we do. We have a remnant. We have this idea of sacrifice on all countries, all lands, that kind of thing. We all, have an idea that we need to be brought near through offering, but it's all distorted. It's all different, right? Whether you're in this land or that land, the way that is to happen is different. But we all have these understandings of sacrifice and offerings. Isn't that interesting? No matter where you go on the planet, doesn't matter what language, what ethnicity, people have this understanding that there needs to be an offering or a sacrifice unto the Lord. Yeah, it's there. It's just what it says is that we've drawn away and now we need to be brought near. And these are the instructions that were given by God. So this is the instruction manual. If the animal you present as a burnt offering, so that's the type of offering that's being presented, it's called a burnt offering. We'll see why. Is from the herd. It must be a male with no defects. Now this is of the cattle. It says, bring it to the entrance of the tabernacle so you may be accepted by the Lord. This is an idea, right? Acceptance of God. See, this is the issue with humanity. We're not accepted. We're not acceptable. Have you ever heard that statement? Like, hey man, you're not acceptable. You can't come into this restaurant. You're not acceptable. You don't have a shirt on. Come on, you guys, you're not acceptable. You got a skateboard. You can't be skating here. Well, that's the same idea with God. Yeah, you're not acceptable, man. You need to put on some clothes, bro. You need to put on the right thing to atone for you. So you get it. Even if you're an atheist, you do the same thing this is saying in a different fashion, but you get it. That there's things that are acceptable and there's things that aren't acceptable. And so you can't critique it too much because you do the same thing, right? And that's what kind of got me when I read the Bible as an atheist. I was like, ooh, this is, I have to deal with my own prejudices, my own stuff. Okay, so the Lord tells him to bring an animal from the cattle without any defect, no problems, not some lame animal, right? Something that is, in a sense, perfect. Lay your hand on the animal's head, and the Lord will accept its death in your place to purify you, making you right or holy, right? This is the way we're separated to God. It's through this substitutionary sacrifice, laying on of hands. Ooh, isn't that cool? So what is laying on of hands about? It is about your identity being imputed or put onto that animal. and that animal stands in your place. That's the identity. That's the idea of laying on of hands. One of the main, if you will, teachings of the Bible. So laying on of hands is the idea of your identity is on that animal. And that animal is taking your place, being judged in your stead instead of you, right? And it says you now become right with God. In a sense, you are now presentable. And it says, then slaughter the young bulls in the Lord's presence. Okay, the Lord's looking at that bull now as you. And it says, and that Aaron's sons, the priest, will present the animal's blood by splattering it against all sides of the altar that stands at the entrance of the tabernacle. So at the altar, when you're going into the tabernacle, this thing's going to have your representative on it. Hey, Beau's representative, he's on that thing, is on the altar, on those horns. Remember the four corners of the altar that were horns? And it says then skin the animal and cut it to pieces, and the sons of Aaron, the priest, would build a fire on the altar. And they will arrange the pieces of the offering, including the head and the fat, on the wood burning on the altar. But the internal organs and the legs must be washed with water. Then the priest will burn the entire sacrifice on the altar as a burnt offering. It's a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The organs are to go through a little bit of a baptism, cleanse them, right? Get them cleaned out. And then everything's going to go onto the altar and going to be roasted. It's going to be burned. It's a special gift, a pleasing aroma unto the Lord. Everything gets, in a sense, consumed. Everything gets roasted. And if the animal you present as a burnt offering is from the flock, it may be either a sheep or a goat. But it must be a male with no defects. Slaughter the animal on the north side of the altar in the Lord's presence, and Aaron's sons, the priests, will splatter its blood, which has taken your place. Remember, it should be your blood, but instead it's going to be the animal's blood. And it says, and they'll put it on all sides of the altar, and then cut the animal in pieces. And the priest will arrange the pieces of the offering, including the head and the fat, on the wood burning on the altar. But the internal organs and the legs must first be washed with water. You know, dirty areas, right? For sure. Things that need to be cleaned. Then the priest will burn the entire sacrifice on the altar and burn offering. It's a special gift, a pleasing aroma unto the Lord. Hey, those inner things in us need to be cleansed, don't they? You know, those inner organs, those inner stuff. You know, so many times our legs need to be cleaned, right? Because why? We're out doing things in this world, and we get dirty feet. So those things need to be cleaned as well. And then you put it on the altar, right? And then, hey, the feet need to be cleansed, but, the internal organs need to be cleansed. Then they go back on that altar and they get burned, right? It's an offering. It's a special gift, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. It's something pleasing to the Lord that this offering for you pleases God to make atonement, to have atonement for your sin. And that's kind of neat to think about, that God is in the business of covering our sin. I don't know if you're about the business of covering other people's sin, or do you just want to, expose? Do you want to hurt? Is that what you're into? Are you kind of in that kind of heart where you like to see people cut down, or you like to see people exposed and their secrets popped out? You like to hurt people that way. Makes you feel good. Instead of love covering a multitude of sins. Okay, you're starting to get it, right? Where New Testament terms come from. Covering, atonement, covering your sin. God is covering your sin in Leviticus. Love covers a multitude of sins, right? A multitude of sins, right? Is my heart that way to want to cover, or is it always exploiting? Always, hey, this, you just want to see someone go down, man. You just love it. And this is the problem with our world. It reveals our hearts. What is TV? What is shows? What is Netflix? What does all the shows reveal? What does all the podcast reveal? What does all the social media reveal? It reveals our hearts. That's what it reveals. That is the revealer. That is the fact of everything in our world. It reveals where we're at. Remember there used to be a time where you go to the store and you can't buy magazines in the little liquor store because they were naughty, right? Well, what today reveals is that everybody not only wants to buy the magazine, but they do buy the magazine. And that's what we partake of in this world. Podcasts, different things. We are consistently revealing our own heart. And you might think the nasty stuff is the stuff that's the, nudity, the naked person, but everything is nasty. Nasty deceit, nasty hate, nasty wanting to get at, nasty wanting to reveal, wanting to hurt, wanting to jab, wanting to get at, wanting to get over. Everything is that way. It is brutal. Right? It's a world of hate and disgust, unfortunately. And the Bible says love covers a multitude of sins. Man, maybe God could change my heart today to where I'm more like Jesus, where I'm about the business of wanting to cover people's sins. I'm really about the business of atonement, of covering them, and instead of hurting them and wanting to see them go down. It's a well-pleasing aroma to the Lord. What's a well-pleasing aroma to you and to me? If you present a bird as a burnt offering to the Lord, choose either a turtle dove or a young pigeon. The priest will take the bird to the altar, wring off its head, and burn it on the altar. It's like Ozzy Osbourne stuff. But first he must drain its blood on the side of the altar. The priest must also remove the crop and the feathers and throw them in the ashes on the east side of the altar. Then, grasping the bird by its wings, the priest will tear the bird open, but without tearing it apart. Then he will burn it as a burnt offering on the wood burning on the altar. It is a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. So you have different offerings. You have the cattle, you have the sheep or goat, and you have the bird. I think this is definitely one of those things where you see kind of economic situations here. Some people can offer a big old thing, like a cow. Some people can't afford that, don't have that. So they offer a sheep or goat. It's a little cheaper. Some people can offer not even that. So they offer a bird, and you see that. But they're offering things. Hey, what did Jesus's family offer? You guys could figure that out. You guys could look that up, and you might see where they were at financially. So when you present grain, this is chapter 2, by the way. When you present grain as an offering to the Lord, the offering must consist of choice flour. So it's not just animals. There's also these different kind of presentations to the Lord, or offerings, way to draw near. Grain, you are to pour olive oil on it. Sprinkle it with frankincense and bring it to Aaron's sons, the priest. The priest will scoop out a handful of the flour moistened with oil together with the frankincense and burn this representative portion on the altar. It's a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. The rest of the grain offering will then be given to Aaron and his sons. This offering will be considered a most holy part of the special gifts presented to the Lord. It's like a special offering, a secondary offering. You got this main cattle, goat, and pigeon, and their blood being shed, and then you have this grain offering. Hey, let's have some granola, Lord, kind of idea. And it's a special thing, something that's, in the heart of the person offering it. And we'll see this develop. If your offering is a grain offering baked in an oven, it must be made of choice flour, but without any yeast. It may be presented in the form of thin cakes mixed with olive oil or wafers spread with olive oil. So let's leave out the yeast, because yeast is something that's been a picture of, sin. And so we're going to see that, that continues on, that kind of idea. It says, if your grain offering is cooked on the griddle, it must be made of choice flour mixed with olive oil, but without any yeast. Break it in pieces and pour olive oil on it. A lot of olive oil, by the way. It is a grain offering. Break it in pieces, right? It's a grain offering. If your grain offering is prepared in a pan, it must be made of choice flour and olive oil. Hey, we all love olive oil, right? We put it on all kinds of things. It's good for you. Makes that skin shine, right? Does some good stuff to the innards too. And it says, no matter how a grain offering for the Lord has been prepared, bring it to the priest. So people like to bake it. Some like to put it on the griddle. Some people like to put it in a pan, right? But it says, bring it to the priest, who will present it at the altar. It's going to be on your behalf. The priest will take the representative portion of grain offering and burn it on the altar. It's a special gift. It's a special gift offering. It's a gift offering. It's like, hey, this is a special thing, man, I want to give you, Lord. And it says, the rest of the grain offering will then be given to Aaron and his sons as their food. This offering will be considered a most holy part of the special gifts presented to the Lord. So Aaron and the priesthood will partake of some of these offerings that you bring as a gift to the Lord. Hey, Lord, man, I love you. I want to give you a gift. It's kind of neat. We can understand that. The incredible, gifts that we give people because we care for them and we love them. And we want to kind of have a tangible expression of that love. Sometimes we'll bake something. Have you ever heard of banana nut bread? What is it? Zucchini bread? That kind of stuff. Where people bake that and they give it to you. Or they bake you peanut butter cookies, or they, something like chocolate chip cookies, and they give it to you. And they go, hey, man, here, I just, that's awesome. Thank you. What a cool gift. We love that. Isn't that interesting that maybe that comes from God? Is that, God has put in our hearts something that's part of Him. And that's love and the ability to appreciate and to be able to reciprocate love and care and compassion in tangible ways by creating things, by baking things, by making things, by writing and composing. And, how cool. Do not use yeast prepared in any of the grain offerings you present to the Lord, because no yeast or honey may be burned as a special gift presented to the Lord. No yeast unto the Lord. You may add yeast and honey as an offering of the first crops of your harvest, but these must never be offered on the altar as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. So there's going to be a different kind of offering that can have it in there, but not one that's presented on the altar. It says, season all your grain offerings with salt to remind you of God's eternal covenant. Ooh, salt. Let your words be grace seasoned with salt. An offering. Isn't that cool? Have you ever heard that word in the book of, what is it? Is it Colossians or is it Galatians? Where it says, let your words be grace seasoned with salt. Yeah, hey, have your offering have a little salt on it, right? It's a reminder of your covenant with God. Never forget to add salt to your grain offerings. It's something that's going to help it out. It's something that's going to season it, spice it up. Ooh, you don't want that. You don't want your words to be without salt. Something that adds to it. You want your words to be something that are precious to people, beneficial to people. Do you see where, the New Testament writers get what they're saying? Yeah, it's from this. Leviticus, big book, important book. If you present a grain offering to the Lord from the first portion of your harvest, bring fresh grain that is coarsely ground and roasted on a fire. Put olive oil on its grain offering and sprinkle it with frankincense. The priest will take a representative portion of the grain moistened with oil together and all the frankincense and burn it as a special offering to the Lord. Okay, so there's this portion of your harvest that you get, and you bring that fresh grain that is coursed, and you roast part of it, okay? And then the priests take a portion of that as well and offer it. And then in chapter 3, it says, if you present an animal from the herd as a peace offering to the Lord. So now we're getting into these different, we have a grain offering, we got a burnt offering, now we got a, looks like a peace offering, right? Hey, we're going to make some peace here with God, By the way, it says Jesus is our peace. Yeah. Oh, why does it say that? Well, now you know why. If you present an animal from the herd as a peace offering, Jesus was our peace offering. Okay, I think you're starting to maybe see where all the New Testament ideas are coming from. And I hope you continue to do so. Again, if you never read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, I don't know how you get it. I just don't know how you would understand all of it. Because when it says Jesus is our peace, obviously, these Jewish people understand what the peace offering is about. So we'll read about it right now. If you present an offering from the herd as a peace offering, it may be male or female, but it must have no defects. Lay your hand on the animal's head and slaughter it as at the entrance of the tabernacle. Again, you're to lay your hands on it. It's substitutionary. Then Aaron's sons and priests will splatter its blood against the sides of the altar. The priest must present part of the peace offering as a special gift to the Lord. This includes all the fat around the internal organs, the 2 kidneys, and the fat around them near the loins, and the long lobe of the liver. These must be removed with the kidneys, and Aaron's sons will burn them on top of the burnt offering on the wood burning on the altar. It's a special gift, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. So you have a burnt offering going on, and then you have a peace offering. Notice, burnt offering is everything being dedicated to the Lord. All of it going to the Lord. It's like all of you going to the Lord. Man, remember, it's representative of you. All of me is yours, Lord. Take everything of me, right? Have you ever heard people say, take everything of me? Yeah, you're the burnt offering unto the Lord. Everything's yours, Lord. And then on top of that, it's a peace offering. Oh, man, there's peace now with us. There's peace. We have peace now. I'm renewing my life in you, Jesus. You are my everything. I'm giving you my whole life, right? And now we have what? Peace. Okay, now you're seeing why, again, the New Testament writers talk about this. That we have peace with God now that we have received Jesus as our sacrifice, as our substitutionary sacrifice. Now we can have peace. He is the offering. He's dedicated his whole life to the Father. His life is laid down in our stead, right? Wow. Okay. I get pretty stoked about it. Now I was reading this at the age of 17 when I first read it, and I thought, man, this is cool. This makes sense, man. You need something to take your place because you're really messy. And if you present an animal from the flock as a peace offering to the Lord, it may be male or female. Okay, we got that. And it says, lay your hands on it, slaughter it in front of the tabernacle. Remember, the blood spilled where? On the altar, the horns of the altar. The priest must present the fat. We saw that. The internal organs, all of it's cleansed, right? It's a special gift of food presented to the Lord. Everything, the kidneys, all that stuff. Verse 12, if you present a goat as your offering, bring it to the Lord, lay your hands on its head and slaughter it in front of the tabernacle. Aaron's sons will what? Put the blood on the altar. You're starting to get it. The priest will present a part of the offering as a special gift. This includes what? All the fat and the internal organs, the 2 kidneys and the fat around them near the loins and the long lobe of the liver. And these must be removed with the kidneys, and the priest will burn them on the altar. It is a special gift of food, a special peace offering, gift offering, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. All the fat belongs to the Lord. All the fat belongs to the Lord. Savory, tasty. We like that part. You must never eat any of the fat or blood. This is a permanent law for you. It must be observed from generation to generation wherever you live. Hey, you don't eat the fat. Not good for you. Not for you. But for the Lord, yeah. Wow, that is radical. Some salt, in your speech. So you have peace, right? When you're making your gift offerings, when you're declaring the goodness of God, when you're sharing with people and talking to people in your day, do you got some good salt on you? Where, man, you're really benefiting those that are listening to you or those that are hearing you talk? Or are you just cutting people down, tearing people apart, wanting to rip them, whatever, that kind of thing? Have you dedicated your life to the Lord? Are you a dedicated offering to the Lord? Are you a burnt offering, in the sense of dedicating everything to the Lord? Is there peace? Have you made a peace offering with the Lord by coming to the Lord? Because Jesus is the ultimate fulfillment of all these. And we will see that, as we keep going. But anyway, it is very, very cool. I see things applicable to us in the offerings, for sure, like dedicating our lives to God, having peace with people and with the Lord, things, and then I see fulfillments certainly in Jesus, that He is the ultimate dedicated offering. He's the ultimate peace offering, the ultimate burnt offering. And we're going to see He's the ultimate transgression offering and sin offering and stuff like that. But you can see there's a method to it all. There is this economic status of these animals, right? Very expensive animal, not so expensive animal, kind of cheap animal, but ways that everybody can bring something, right? There's this idea of atonement and covering sin that needs to happen. There's these ideas of that when that happens, then we have peace with God, and we have now peace offering fellowship meals with God. Gift offerings, times of hanging out with God. We can hang with God now. We can dwell with God. God is teaching the world through the Jewish people how we can get together with the deity, since there is this issue of sin and God is holy and righteous. How are we going to be able to have a picnic? How are we going to be able to get together and have koinonia, have fellowship with one another? And so these concepts are starting to get ingrained in our head. Atonement, substitutionary sacrifice, judgment, baptism, stuff like this is all washing, right? Cleansing. All this stuff is happening because it's helping us understand what is required for us to be saved. Yeah, how we're saved, what's needed. This is the record of it. It's all right there, man. So very cool. Anyway, that's what this is talking about. So hope you enjoyed 1 through 3. I find Leviticus a amazing book. We're all trying to find covering. We're all trying to cover up our stuff. We're all trying to shield ourselves. So this shouldn't be a weird book to you at all, because we walk in these ways all the time. We're always covering ourselves, right? We're always trying to make peace with people. We find ourselves dedicating our lives to certain things. So you could see that this is not weirdness, this book. It's actually quite relevant to us. Probably one of the more relevant books that we could read in our Bibles. It's just many people, for some reason, don't do it. So anyway, we'll talk to you guys later. Take care, okay? Bye-bye.